Finding random frames in Captain America Brave New World until it's ugly. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Okay, that's actually a really cool shot. So quick disclaimer, I started this movie, but I actually did not finish it because I thought it was extremely boring. And honestly, that was a disappointment for me because I really liked the Captain America TV show that came out recently. And I also really liked the first trailer for this movie because that trailer made it seem like they were trying to do something different with this movie that had not been done in the previous Marvel movies, aka make it look more film-like. Specifically, my eyes were drawn to the film grain of the trailer because that trailer had a lot of film grain. And typically when you see film grain in a movie, it is an indication, is a clue that that film was shot on film. However, this film was not shot on film, it was shot on digital, specifically an Arri Alexa camera, and then the grain was added in post later. However, when it comes to this specific shot, I think this shot is really cool. It's a very dramatic shot. It's not overly lit. Half of his face is completely in darkness, and the lighting is motivated from this stained glass over here, and motivating the light from that stained glass just provides a lot of color in the light that is highlighting his face right here, and I think that it just provides a lot of contrast and texture. It's cool. The only thing that's kind of weird about this shot is this looks CGI to me for some reason. Maybe it's not, but that just looks CGI. It feels like the light should be a little bit more green to match his face. The highlights are just different on that. But anyway, cool shot. Okay, not an ugly shot. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Okay, that's a cool shot. It has a lot of depth to it. It has a lot of blue in it. One thing I found very interesting about this movie is the director's choice of color palette for this film. The one thing they mentioned in American Cinematographer is that they tried to avoid the color red as much as possible. So here you can see a lot of, blues. It's mainly blue, besides obviously the American flag has some red in it. But there was a conscious choice to avoid red in most of the movie because at the end, spoiler for the end of the movie, although if you've seen the trailer for the movie, you know what the end of the movie is. The Red Hulk appears, and they wanted the Red Hulk to just feel like an intrusion into the film, and so, that color of red being an intrusion, they didn't want to have as much red in the rest of the film. Now, I don't know if that really matters, but I think it's cool to understand what the director's mindset is with all of that. Not ugly. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. That's a really nice shot. This might be in the same location as a shot we previously saw, but I think it's still cool. You're motivating light over here. The light is not wrapping around his face. Instead, you are filling in this side of his face with just a hint of light coming from a different direction or a bounce board or something. But you probably have an HMI light, very powerful HMI light, outside of the window over here, just lighting his face. And then you were also creating depth and texture by having all of this light back here and just creating all these shadows. Cool shot, not ugly. Here we go, 1, 2, 3. Okay, that's cool. So the main thing you notice about this shot is the anamorphic flare going right through the middle of the frame right here, this blue lens flare. And that is an indication that this was shot on anamorphic lenses. Specifically, they used the Panavision C-Series anamorphic lens, which honestly have a lot of character to them. They kind of warp the edges of the image a little bit and overall provide not a very sharp image, but one with a little bit of jank to it. Just one with a little bit of character, as I like to say. And I think that, again, lends itself to the filmic, almost 90s, 80s look of this film because it's not a super perfectly sharp image like you might see in some other Marvel movies. So not ugly. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. I mean, that's a gorgeous image. It's very different than what we've seen so far. And also his pupils look really big. That's kind of an odd image for the context of this film. Look how big his pupils are. Why are his pupils that big? Usually people's pupils dilate when it's very dark, and it seems like he's outside, probably in the sunlight. I don't know. Either way, they're definitely diffusing the light. I don't know if they're using HMI light shooting through a silk or if they're just silking off the sun right here and then filling in his face with other lights, but this was definitely shot at least a 2.8 t-stop on a pretty long lens, creating this just nice background blur. I think it's a very pretty shot. It's just kind of an odd shot in the context of the rest of the movie. And I didn't get this far when I was watching, so I don't know what's going on here. But it's a pretty shot. Next shot. 1, 2, 3. Oh my gosh. I honestly can't stand the way this character looks. He kind of looks like a Power Ranger villain. It's not an ugly shot. The lighting's cool. They're obviously using some colored LED lights above him. And it looks cool. It looks, I don't know. It doesn't look, I don't know. I don't like the way this character looks. Next shot. 1, 2, 3. Okay, this is a cool shot. Like I said before, the DP Kramer Morgenthau was inspired visually by 80s and 90s spy thriller movies, but he was also, he said, inspired by the movie The Killing of a Sacred Deer, which is a very interesting movie cinematographically. That's not a word. Cinematographerly. The cinematography of that movie is interesting because the director Yorgos Lanthimos sometimes likes to frame his characters in ways that are kind of unconventional and make the audience feel like something is off. It makes them feel a little bit uneasy. And one of the ways he does that is by giving them a lot of headroom, by shrinking them down in the frame, as we can see here, and just making them feel small. And I think this is a cool shot because the DP had a decision to make in this shot, whether he was going to expose the outside of the window right here or whether he was going to expose Harrison Ford and this lady's face more properly. And I think he made the right decision because I would personally rather have a more dramatic silhouetted look and be able to see outside of the windows than have these windows overexposed and see their faces just a little bit better. I think that was the right choice. I typically like seeing outside of windows. So not ugly. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. I mean, it kind of looks a little Ant-Man-y, doesn't it? But I mean, it's fine. I don't really have much to say about the CGI. I think the CGI in this film, I watched some of it, and I think it actually looks pretty decent. It looks a lot better than the final battle scene of the Black Panther movie that came out 10 years ago, which, I mean, I don't know if that's saying much, but, you know, it looks fine. 1, 2, 3. Okay, I like the shot. First of all, I like the color of the shot because it looks like they are using fluorescent tubes to just give a general ambient light to this, I don't know what you call it, wherever the prisoners go to talk to people on the phone. And if you don't know, fluorescent tubes give kind of a green glow if you are exposing for 5600 Kelvin. And it looks like they are exposing for 5600 Kelvin because you have more of a neutral white light coming up from below him right here, which, number one, gives kind of a spooky look, but lighting like this also gives you a nice eye light in his eyes. And I just typically see in scenes like this, and I have lit a scene like this before and I chose to light in the way I'm about to say, is that you don't typically see lights coming from the side of the face in sequences. What do you call it? Where the prisoner is talking to someone outside of the prison. I don't know what you call that place, but in scenes like that, you don't typically see lighting from the sides. You typically see lighting either from up top, directly in front of the character, or I guess this might be the first time I've seen it, but directly just on line with his face. Sorry, I short-circuited. It's not ugly. 1, 2, 3. Okay. I don't love this one. It's clear to me that they were going for the typical blue and orange color grade for this particular scene, but I think there's something about his skin tones right here that just don't look quite right to me. They look pretty orange. It's like they're lighting with a tungsten light up here, and I just don't like the way that makes him look, honestly. Because let me find another shot for comparison. Okay, so here's an example of his skin tones just looking a lot more neutral, I think, when you're filming outside in daylight, as opposed to this, which is a lot more orange, and, you know, it makes sense, I guess, but it's not super flattering. I still don't think it's an ugly shot, though, so let's move on. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, cool. One thing, I did watch this scene, and one thing I had a problem with was, like, I don't know, maybe they explained it in the rest of the movie, but why do bullets not pierce him when Captain America's little feathered knives do pierce him? Let me see if I can find it. Look, this helicopter is destroying him, but then Captain America shoots these little knives at him and they stick through him. I don't understand. Anyway, also notice here that the aspect ratio has changed. And that's because they actually shot this film in 2 different aspect ratios. The film goes back and forth from a 1.90 aspect ratio, which is what you see right here, to a 2.39 aspect ratio, as we can see here. And so here, and by the way, get him off my screen. I don't like that. This aspect ratio was primarily used for more of the dialogue scenes where there wasn't much action taking place, whereas this larger aspect ratio was more about the action scenes. But this was primarily done because this film was showing an IMAX, and they wanted the IMAX screen to be as big as possible for the battle scenes. Also, this still looks pretty CGI to me. Next shot, 1, 2, 3. So here we have the scene right before he turns into the Red Hulk, and this was shot outside on a set in Georgia, not actually at the White House. And the way they lit this scene, I believe, was by having 60 by 60 foot silks lifted above the actors right here, and then they shot 24 18K HMIs through those silks just to give a nice soft even light on the entire set, and that includes the audience as well, if I can show you that. Although a lot of this looks like this is probably set extension CGI back here. Oh, and by the way, another problem I had with this movie was that I didn't realize until I started watching that he was supposed to be playing Thaddeus Ross, which I don't care about that character at all in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but I did know who he was in the other movies, and he was played by a different actor, and it just kind of threw me off. There was a lot of dialogue in the beginning of this film explaining to the audience that Harrison Ford is the same person, the same character in the universe as was played by another actor in other movies, and it wasn't confusing, but it's kind of, when they do that, when they change characters like that, and then also explain to the audience and like try to give reasons for why they look different now.
I have to admit, I'm still getting used to the new look.
They said lose the mustache or lose the election.
That's not it. That's not why he looked different than the other movies. Anyway, I just thought that was annoying, but I'm yapping. 1, 2, 3. Okay, I like the look of this. I love anytime there is cherry blossom trees in a shot. It just automatically makes a shot look good. However, I will say, compared with the rest of the movie, that it is very grounded in reality and trying to be like those old spy thriller movies. I do think this sequence feels a little out of place. It just feels way more digital than the rest of the movie. 1, 2, 3. Okay. It's just a gray screen. I'm not going to count this one, but that is interesting. What is the context for this? Okay, he's flying through clouds. I'm not counting it. 1, 2, 3. Okay, yeah, that looks cool. Not much to say. Lighting through the trees, cool. 1, 2, 3. I don't love this shot. Don't love it. Don't love it. Don't love it. Because it is being front lit, and I don't like that. It flattens out the image. The lighting is coming from this side of him instead of this side of him, and typically you want the light to come from the back side of the actor, called upstage lighting. That's not happening here, and it's kind of just creating a flat image. Don't love that. Next shot, I guess. 1, 2, 3. Oh, this is nice. I like the tube lights back here behind the flags. That's cool. Not much to say else about that. 1, 2, 3. Don't love this one as well. Don't love this. Don't love this. Yeah, I think I'm going to say this shot is ugly. I don't like what the colors are doing at all. You basically only have 3 colors. You have blue down here, you have green right here, you have red right here, and there's not much contrast in those colors, and they are kind of washed out, and it's just not providing much depth. It's not providing a pleasant kind of contrast. It's really just providing a kind of color clashing rather than color contrast, in my opinion. And also, by lighting with a red LED over here, I know it might have context. It might be a police siren or something, I don't know, but you are creating red skin tones that don't quite look good in a still image. And also, I don't like this top light for some reason. It just doesn't seem to be doing anything. It just kind of looks lit to me. But overall, I think they did some pretty cool stuff with the cinematography of this movie, specifically in regards to the film grain and the anamorphic lenses, and just not really caring if it wasn't pixel perfect. And I like that, and I think audiences are actually like craving something more realistic, something more akin to the Dark Knight movies or something with regards to their superhero movies nowadays, because I think the superhero movie genre, and especially Marvel movies, has been oversaturated with oversaturation. It's been oversaturated with just this big, colorful, pixel perfect look, and I think it is getting a little tiring, especially if the CGI is not good enough to hold it up. They did verge on being a little bit too colorful and pixel perfect in this scene, too much CGI, but you know, you gotta do what you gotta do when you have a red Hulk that you have to fight. So yeah, it's not the best looking movie ever, but it's cool. Bye.